this is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief with Commercial Integrator. So happy to be joined today by Joe Teixeira, who is a Product Manager at MuxLab. Thank you so much for joining me, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I know most of Commercial Integrator's audience is probably quite familiar with MuxLab and its technology, but can you just give a short elevator pitch or summary of what the company does for those who might not be fully up to speed?
Sure. We're a designer and manufacturer of digital signage products, which we're going to be talking about today. We also design and manufacture AV over IP products, Pro AV products, products for the broadcast industry, as well as streaming and video conferencing products, all encompassing everything that's done at MuxLab. We're located in Montreal, Canada, and it's all manufactured there at our facility.
So of course, the topic today is digital signage. Can you kind of describe your solution, what it consists of, its core elements?
Right. So the core components, I mean, basically, it's a digital signage ecosystem that we've created. It consists of three main components. The first one being a software package. It's called DigiSign CMS. CMS is a generic term in the signage world for content management system. So that application, that software essentially is used to create content. So that's like content meaning slides and also playlists, which are grouping of slides. So you use the software to do all of those in advance. You then can schedule that content throughout an entire year or more. And then once you're done with that, we come to the second component, which is the player. We offer a 4K 60 player. It's a high-end player. It supports actually multi-windowed environment on a single screen, so you can create content with multiple layers. Layers can be various things like video files, image files, audio. It can be clocks and various things, which I'll talk about in greater detail after. But essentially, you create your content with all these layers. Once you've done it on the software, you then send all that to the player. The player has 128 gig of internal memory, so it can contain all of that content and the schedule at the same time and play autonomously on its own. So once you've sent everything to the player, you can literally turn off the software and the player will just run on its own. You only need the software to go back and make changes, add new slides, edit existing slides. If you do edit them, they're automatically uploaded to all the players that had those slides in the background. So very simple and very easy to use. Essentially, in a given installation, you would have one instance of the software running on one PC and all your players throughout the installation, throughout the facility. Another component that we have, the third component, is something we call DigiSign local server. You can think of it sort of like a cloud, but it's a local private one. And you basically install one of those at the site if you wish. It's an optional component. And if you do that, it allows you to have multiple instances of the software rather than just one. And that means that you have multiple PCs with running the software and individuals in front of each PC. So they can work together collaboratively to create content. So some people can be doing slides, others can be working on the schedule, and they can work together to do things quicker in larger installations. And then you send all of that content. Instead of sending it to the players, you send it to the local server. It's all contained in the server itself. The server has internal memory, but it also has the ability to connect external hard drives, such as an 8 terabyte hard drive or whatever you want. So all of the slides and schedules and everything for all the different players are housed there. And so the software becomes like a client, and you have that server aspect, which distributes the content amongst all the players on its own.
Thank you very much for that summary. Very informative. So moving on to our next area of focus, can you tell me a bit about where DigiSign is currently most installed and where you're seeing its greatest successes?
Yeah, it's installed in many different applications, but if I point out some of the more common ones that we sell into, I would say retail being one. They're small to medium-sized retail facilities where they would use it within their store. Another one would be educational facilities. It can be grade schools, high schools and universities. Corporate facilities where they would use them in their lobbies, in their hallways, possibly in the cafeteria, and even in showrooms if they have showrooms for products that they manufacture, things like that. Another example would be transport businesses such as airports, bus stations, train stations, are another good example. And another very popular one that we're very successful with are restaurants and sports bars. Restaurants nowadays, you go to any restaurant, even a McDonald's, for example, has signage. And sports bars, for example, they'll often mix sporting activities with digital advertising for whatever they happen to be serving that day that's on special, whether it's wings or what have you. So those are the more common ones that we sell into.
That is quite an array of verticals. So moving on from there, can you share some of the key features of DigiSign and why they're important to your customers?
Okay. Well, some of the things that set us apart and make our software very attractive is the ease of use, first and foremost, for our software itself, for the DigiSign CMS software. It's been designed to be extremely easy to use for even a novice who's never done digital signage before. If you're familiar working with things like PowerPoint, you would be able to use this without any instructions whatsoever, pretty much. It's set up, if I may, I just give you a quick rundown. It's set up, the screen is divided into two parts. There's a canvas area on the right and a tools section on the left, which has what we call widgets. They're basically image icons and video icons and things like that. We support many different widgets that can be text, video, images, stock widgets, currency exchange, RSS feeds, Instagram feeds, clocks, maps, things of that sort. And essentially what you do is you just drag any icon, any one of those icons onto the screen. If you happen to drag, let's say, a video widget onto the screen, onto the canvas area, you drop it there, that control panel on the left becomes, that widget panel on the left becomes a control panel, allowing you to then control that widget. So you can select which video you want to put in there, whether it's streamed or whether it's something on your PC, a file on your PC. And as soon as you do that, one of the nice things about our software is it's interactive in the canvas area. Often, a lot of our competitors, you only get to see the result when you send it to the player, or if you specify to see a preview of it. In our case, it's a live preview as you're creating the slide. Okay, and there's a big advantage to that, because if you've got an image as a background, for example, and you drop some text on it, you can select the right font and color of the text and intensity so that there's no contrast between the image. If there's a dark part of the image, you can avoid that, move your text somewhere else, or put it over the dark area and change your color to white instead of black. So it helps you see the results as you're creating the actual slide, and it saves you a lot of time. And that's important for people, especially if they do this for a living and creating content. They can probably do slides in about half the amount of time rather than having to work in this canvas that doesn't show you exactly what's going on until you press preview. Then you see the result and you say, well, I don't want to do that. And you go back and you change it. With ours, you can see it as you're creating it. So you create these slides. It's a windowed environment. So once you drag those icons on, you can grab the corner and stretch it to make it the size you want. You can grab it from the center and place it anywhere on the screen, on the canvas area that you want. You can partially overlap two windows together. You can put one window inside the other, or you can put them side by side. Whatever you want. It's very, very flexible. And you just keep dragging icons. And once you finish with an icon, you hit next, and then you can go back to your window with all the different widgets and drag another one in to keep on going. So very simple to use. So that's the ease of use and the automatic windowing. Another thing that helps people get started very quickly is we have a large library of templates. So those are predetermined, pre-done slides for people who are novice. And essentially, if you're a restaurant, for example, you can take one of our restaurant templates, which already has pictures of food and description along with pricing, and you can just click on the picture of the food and put your picture in place, and it's already sized and attractively laid out. So you can take advantage of that and just put your picture in there, go onto the text part, click on that, and change the name for whatever you call that dish, as well as change the price. and you can instantly create your own slides in seconds, literally. So those are all nice things. And we have all the standard bells and whistles that you see on the higher end products. We have a thing called Keyword Dictionary, which is basically when you create slides, rather than putting, again, that restaurant example, if you've got some food, and rather than putting an actual price there next to it, you can put a keyword. It's a code that when the slide is played, it looks for codes. And if it finds any of those keyword codes, it will go to a lookup table, which has the actual information that you want to replace that keyword with. So if it's a price, for example, and every Wednesday the price changes, you have a special on pizza, well, next to the pizza picture, you can have a keyword for the price, and it'll look up the new price for Wednesdays and place the new price there rather than having a static price. So that's a nice feature. Another one is proof of play. That's good for, let's say you own shopping mall and you've got a lot of clients, which are the boutiques in the shopping mall. You, as the owner of the shopping mall, you can lease out time on your digital signage kiosks that you have in the hallways. And to be able to prove to those customers that you've played their content, proof of play will tag each slide for a given customer, and it'll generate reports of how often that slide has played throughout the week, the month, what have you, to generate those reports so you can bill your customers. And last but not least is we support something called interactive mode, so that we work with touchscreens. Again, that shopping mall example, you may walk up to a kiosk in the hallway and see a map of the shopping mall and all the different stores. You touch a particular store on the map and it brings up ads for that store. So we support touchscreens. We're about to add voice recognition, and we're going to be adding others in the future, other capabilities, forms of control. So that essentially are the main features of our product line.
It's an incredible feature set, and you really emphasize a number of things, including the intuitiveness and the user friendliness, which of course are critically important. So we've already kind of previewed, I think, my next question at least somewhat, but can you just kind of emphasize even more why MuxLabs DigiSign CMS and 4K player is a solution that's attractive to resellers in comparison to the competition? Obviously, we've discussed some of that, but is there anything you might want to home in on just a little bit more?
Right. So in addition to the ease of use that I just referred to, in addition to that, we are one of the few companies that offer over IP technology in addition to digital signage, over IP technology and HD-based technology. And that's an important piece. Most digital signage companies only do digital signage, but over IP and HD-based technologies are excellent for distributing audio video signals. And obviously digital signage is an audio video signal. So rather than having a player behind each TV, you can have just a few players located in an IT room, for example, feeding into an over IP system where you have encoders that take the signal and encode it over a network. And you have decoders at the other end, which pull those signals off the network and connect it. And you can connect those decoders directly to a TV so that you can essentially distribute your digital signage signals over this network and send it to TVs that are spread out all over the place. A good example is an airport, for example. Very large facility. Over IP is an excellent way of distributing audio video signals over the entire airport. And you basically keep those players in the IT room of the airport, and you put the transmitters sending the signals in from there. And at the other end, you got receivers at each TV displaying those signals. So it's a nice thing to be able to get all of that from one company rather than having to deal with going to another company to get the over IP to distribute those signals. So that's a unique advantage in addition to the ease of use that we offer with our products.
Absolutely. No, that's certainly a meaningful advantage. So just to close out the interview here, can you just share what's next for DigiSign and what we can expect in the future? I'm sure big things are afoot.
Yeah, I'll describe what we're going to be doing this year. I mentioned one of the player that we have is a 4K 60 player. It's a high-end solution. Again, we can actually play dual 4K 60 videos on a single screen. We can play up to 4 1080p windows on a single screen, mixed with all the other widgets I talked about, again, images and clocks and all of that. But we're going to be coming out with a middle tier and an entry-level player as well for those who are more cost sensitive. So those will be coming out in a few months. And so that will have, an entry level, a medium level, and the higher end level players and you can mix and match them in the same installation or whatever you like based on your budget. In addition to that, we're going to be enhancing the capabilities of our interactive mode. I mentioned that we're going to be releasing very shortly voice recognition capability, so you can walk up to a kiosk and talk to it to select from lists and things like that, rather than touching, which you can do now. You'll also be able to speak and make selections. We're going to be adding proximity and motion sensors so that things can wake up when people walk by or can react differently as people walk by to try to get their attention and get them to come to the kiosk. We're going to be adding AI capability with cameras so that if people walk up to a kiosk, it'll be able to identify children, adult males and females, and elderly people, and based on who's in front, to tailor the ad to that person. For example, if it's a child with a mother, it would probably favor the child and start showing ads for toy stores in the mall. So the child will tag the mother and say, "Mom, I want to go get a toy," and that sort of thing. So that's coming up very shortly. Another thing we're going to be doing is adding remote capability. Remote access capability from our CMS so that players can be scattered anywhere you like, anywhere in the world, and you'll be able to remotely access them. If you combine that with our local server that I mentioned earlier, that's a device that allows you to have multiple instances of the software running. In combination with the remote access, you can literally have the software running at different locations, especially now with COVID. People can be working from home, so you can have different people collaborating, each one working from home, developing slides, etc., and then sending those slides to the players that can be, and to the local servers that can be located pretty much anywhere. So that's coming out in a few months. And in addition to that, we're also going to be developing a public cloud solution where our CMS software will be on a public cloud. And you will virtually be able to access it from anywhere. And that public cloud will then drive players that can be located anywhere in the world as well. So we'll have two systems, either that private cloud with that, what we call the local server, or a public cloud solution that you can use as well. So all of that is coming out this year.
Well, the team and you are certainly keeping very, very busy with all that planned for the next 12 months or so. Exciting times at MuxLab. If people are wanting to get a bit more information about the products, the solutions, the company, where would they go? What would be the best resource for them to turn to?
So I would recommend you just go over to our website. It's at muxlab.com. In there, you're going to see a wealth of information. You can get product information for our digital signage or any of the other lines that I mentioned earlier. You can get information in terms of data sheets, manuals, just general information about products. You can get software downloads. You can also go to our Contact Us page and be able to ask technical questions to our support staff. Through that, as well as talking to our salespeople who can put you in contact with our distribution network. We sell through distributors and they in turn sell through integrators and installers. Customers can also buy direct from some of these facilities. We don't sell direct ourselves, but we sell through the distribution channels. And we have a where to buy section on our website as well. So if you want to identify a local distributor in your area, you can. So that's probably one of the best ways to start to be able to get all the different contact information and product information that you would need.
So happy to have been joined today by Joe Teixeira, who is a product manager at MuxLab. Really appreciate all the insights and information, Joe.
Thank you, Dan. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My name is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief with Commercial Integrator, and please check back on commercialintegrator.com and all of our properties for more great content just like this. See you soon.